Cancer friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Cancer March 2024 Astrology Horoscope forecast. I'm calling the theme of this month for Cancer, Cosmic Clues, Unlocking Your Destiny in March 2024. And I'll go into all of the factors as to why I'm saying that. There is one particularly important set of factors that we will talk about. This is for you if Cancer is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Cancer placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. And if you're a very late degree Cancer friend, so birthdays like July 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Cancer placement through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Leo report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. And hello, if you haven't met me before on camera, if you're new, if you've joined my crew within the last over a year or so, I've been off camera. Hello and welcome. Hello again back to everyone else who may have been following me for a long time. Yes, I've had a rough sort of almost year and a half, and it had been much easier for me to be off camera because you can imagine it's kind of stressful to be on camera. But anyway, so here I am, I'm back. It's nice to connect with you again this way. And we're going to get into all of the goodies for this month. My intention, as always, is to help you align with the natural rhythms of the universe so that you can have the most ease and grace and fulfillment in your life. That is my goal. And so anything that I know and anything I understand is put towards trying to help you reach that goal. So let's talk about the factors. My work is all about layering. I layer in the factors that are affecting the month to give you a good story of the energetics, kind of like a very descriptive process of a person. You could say there's a person. Okay, well, that's nice. Well, there's a person with red hair. Okay, that's nice. This person is tall. Okay, well, there's more. So I'm going to get into the moles on this person and where they are, more or less, into that level of detail of what this month holds so that you can see all of the subtle and not so subtle factors that are enriching the energetics of this month. Okay. So the first thing to know is that we have more than double the sweet aspects compared to salty ones. Salty aspects are, I use the word salty to describe when there's an incongruous mathematical connection. So basically they're not getting along and we feel that. But we only have a few of those this month. One key one, which I'll go into details about later. But really just no, not very rare, which is very rare that we have so few aspects, honestly. So that's exciting. And most of them are good. And we'll talk about some of those later too. But what we want to know now is that our ratio is much more sweet compared to salty, and that is important. The next thing that's very, very important to know is that March is a hybrid month. The first 3 weeks of the month are all about forward movement, go, go, go. Make your big decisions, make your big choices, do your investing, get your parties and your engagements and your weddings and your, everything that you have to get done that requires basically the tides going out, okay? Imagine the first 3 weeks and align with the tides going out. Do you want the thing you're doing to be going far and wide? Do you want to get there more effortlessly without paddling so much? Do you want to have that imprinted into the birth date of this new important thing that you do? Is it a launch? Is it something you want to just go long and strong for a really long time? If it is, definitely capitalize on the first 3 weeks of March. And actually, depending on when you're listening to this, January 21st, we opened the window free from personal planet retrogrades. Personal planet retrogrades are Venus, Mars, and Mercury when they appear to be going backwards in the sky or are thinking about going backwards in the sky. Then they have an effect on us on Earth. And during those times, which will shift into March 20th and into April, that's a time when the tides are coming in. So anything you throw out will come right back to you. So if you're playing fetch with the universe, then that's perfect for that. Do it later in the month. If you want the things you throw out to not come right back to you, then do them earlier in the month and you'll have a much easier time. Also, scheduling. Big thing about direct versus retrograde is scheduling. So if you want to not be on the phone trying to get a hold of a normal human person, which is so hard to do anymore, to reschedule or cancel or whatever an appointment, try to do all of your appointment making and following through with in the first 3 weeks of March. And if you're listening to this earlier, from January 20th through March 20th, make your appointments, do your doctor check-ins, do your lab work, do all of the stuff that you have to do. And then that leaves you, first of all, leaving room for last minute magic, which is that force that I like to describe that the universe tends to bring in the retrograde of sudden opportunities where someone says, hey, you want to go on a trip this weekend? Or hey, you want to come to this party? Or hey, I got, an extra ticket to a concert. If you're all scheduled up, you won't be able to say yes to the last minute magic. And starting March 20th into April, there will be a lot of chance for that, okay? So schedule yourself as light as possible, both for your own sanity in rescheduling and also for leaving yourself open. Same goes for commitments or things that you agree to. You agree to something March 20th and on. You might not know what you're agreeing to. Your circumstances may change and you'll wish you hadn't agreed to it. There's information that you don't know that's there that would make your decision different, and every such thing. So hopefully a word to the wise is sufficient. You can do what you have to do, and if you have to engage in communication during the time from March 20th into all of April, then you got to do it. But just keep in mind it may be shorter term than you think. If you're looking for a short term thing, that's perfect. But you just want to look at language and what you're committing to and get things in writing and stuff like that. But we don't have that mess in the first 3 weeks of March. So if you have to do something contractual, you may be better off doing it earlier. Okay, so with the analogy that I always like to use about the beach, get your deserted island boat, like you're on a desert island, you get your boat off when the tides are going out. If you want to do a beach cleanup, the tides are coming in, you can see what the beach, brings up. Maybe a dolphin will come and say hi. So basically March 20th and on is a time to chill out on the shore, not put your message in a bottle out, unless you're sending it to yourself because it's going to come right back. It's a time to wait and see what comes to you and not force things to happen. I'm not suggesting forcing things to happen, because some people have a way of life where they never force anything to happen, and that could be a desirable spiritual process, right? But there are more times, we do have a yin and yang expression, right? And there are times to take a more active role in your destiny, and there are more times to sit back and see what comes. And so that line of delineation is sort of happening in the days around the 20th, where if you are going to try to make things happen, the earlier part will have more support. If you want to chill out and wait for things to come to you, that will be the energetic. So you basically weave your webs in the first 3 weeks of March, and then March 20th on in April, you hang out and you see what comes to you. You let the food come to you. Okay, so that hopefully will help you understand that well. Okay, so we still have strong Aquarian energy going on. Venus and Mars are there a little longer than something would usually be at this, in this season. So you have extra energy in your 8th house. It's other people's money, contracts, debt, credit, inheritances, things like that. You can use this for conscious self-seeking in psychology and diving into the mystery. It's really good for that. You can also use this to combine the energetics of Aquarius, which is like the group, with the 8th house. So maybe, for instance, joining a group of people who are interested in the esoteric things that you're interested in, or the investment things, or the crypto things, or, the 8th house also rules crypto. Anything that's not easily definable, where you could say what it is, but we really don't know what the hell it is, and it's supposed to be somewhere, but it's really nowhere, or it's everywhere, basically, that's the 8th house. So you've got a little longer of a strong emphasis there from the short-term perspective. From the long-term perspective, you've got over 20 years of focus in this house, because Pluto's now in Aquarius. Even though it will pop back in Cap September, October, November, it's never going far enough away from Aquarius to be influencing over the next, over 2 decades. So that house is going to be aspected for you for a long time in the long term, but you have extra energy for it in the short term too. And then when Mars and Venus move along, they're going to go into Pisces and join Saturn, which will be there in, till 2026. The Sun, Mercury, Hygeia will be there, shorter time. Neptune's there as a very long transit, but we're in the last years of that transit. So, but it's still going to be there a long time. So the point is that short and long term, you have the 9th house accentuated. And the 9th house has to do with teaching and learning and education and broadening your horizons. Now, I want to talk more about the 9th house, but I want to tie back to the title that we have here, Cosmic Clues. So when the planets make transits, and this is going to apply more to the eclipses, but we can find cosmic clues in every single transit, in everything big and small. At this time, wherever the energetics are, those have pieces for you that coax you along your destiny. So you've got pieces involving groups and teams and futuristic thinking and technology. And then you have pieces in the 8th house of deep, intimate connection, esoteric education and understandings, collaborations and synergistic combinations. There are clues for you in all of those arenas that are part of unlocking your destiny. And so sometimes the universe whispers, but sometimes the universe yells. So some of these are kind of whispery clues, but the more you look for them, the more they'll be there. And some of them are screamy clues, which have to do with the eclipses, which we're building up to here soon. Okay, so now back to the 9th house, which is super full with short and long-term energy. So this is a time when education and expressing information, maybe you are in student mode, where there's something that you have to learn in order to reach your goals, or just as a hobby because it brings you fulfillment. You may be in teacher mode, where now you've learned enough and now it's time to share with this, with other people. You may be in both, where you're a teacher or you teach people as your work, but now you're learning more so that you have more to teach. But whatever it is, that story of inflow and outflow as it regards to information, this is the storyline of what's happening with all of this Sagittarius energy. Different countries, different cultures, different languages, international business, international visas and immigration, all of those are very strongly highlighted, as are writing and publishing, speaking, communicating things that you know. All of that, lots of opportunities. Now, the next layer of all this Pisces energy is the fact that it makes a trine with your Cancer placement. So it's basically all of these planets are speaking your language, and doesn't it feel good? I mean, I'm a linguist. I love different languages. I have Sagittarius all over my chart, so I'm all about like every different language. But in general, the energy of someone being on the same page with you, like speaking your language in a way that is like a life way, that they're living the way that makes sense. So basically, people speaking your language or speaking in a language that makes you feel great comfort, that's what this is about. This is about you looking for resonance and you finding it in all of these different things. The emotional connection, the intuition, the ethereal realm, the psychology, the connectedness of all things. All of these are the language of Cancer. And this is also the language of the water sign Pisces. And so you've got this beautiful flow of multidimensional awareness and information gathering and receiving and sharing. We're always taking things into our fields. And yes, auras are real. Science is proving that, so I'm so excited about that. Auras are not woo-woo and they're not metaphysical. I mean, we can speak to them on the metaphysical realms, but an aura is an electric field that can be detected by things that can detect that. And one of the things that can detect an auric field is a human. So please tell me, have you ever had an experience where someone has walked into a room behind you and you felt them come in? Not because they made a noise. Your auric field was sensing information, even though you didn't see it visually and even though you didn't hear it auditorially. So yes, auric fields are real. Communication between auric fields are real. And caring for your auric field is real. And this is one of the things that is really coming up now, is this basic attention to the things that are lesser seen, but are just as real and just as there. All right, so the universe is speaking your language and you get to have a big boost with this, so it's exciting. Now, the next layer has to do with all of these Pisces placements. So let's talk about some of the other things that they can bring. High emotion, of course, is a water sign being lunar ruled. This is just how it goes. The emotion can be happy though. It just is. It's emotion. It's adaptable energy. Pisces is mutable. It's compassionate, spiritual energy. It's connected energy. It's intuitive. It's kind. It's empathetic. So there's a lot of that going on. Now, the things we have to watch out for, of course, there's always a spectrum of manifestation. No sign is bad. No sign is good. No sign is better than other signs. Every sign has a spectrum of influence from lowest to highest. And when we understand this, we can consciously try to come in on it when we see ourselves moving along the lower end of the spectrum. Lower end of Pisces, indecisive, escapist, and procrastinating. You will see a lot of that coming up. It will be really easy to stay comfortable in this beautiful flow. And maybe that's just what you're supposed to be doing. Maybe the cosmic clues are telling you, hey, I'm supposed to be just in my garden. I think about one of my favorite Cancer friends, and actually I have a lot of favorite Cancer friends, but there's one in particular I'm thinking of in her garden, okay? She's always wanted a garden. She has a garden. Maybe like that flow that you get when you're in the garden, where the weather is nice and the creatures are out and the things are growing and everything is quiet, but everything is loud, you know? Loud like the ants are scurrying. It's a deep, beautiful, in your flow. And it may be that that is what's happening. But if you notice at all that you're procrastinating from what you have to do, if you're escaping from something that you have to face, or that you're indecisive and you know that you need to take some action, then that's when it's coming in at the lower end and you want to do something about that. So the way that we can ameliorate this at this time is with inspired action. Inspired action, since this is a time for action, especially the first 3 weeks of March. Inspired action is divinely led. Inspired action is not necessarily logical. It's not necessarily linear, but it is inspired. Okay, so if you can make the choice to do at least inspired action and to ask the universe to be clear with you about what that is, then even if you take one action at this time, if it's one that carries, then it will be amazing. And on that topic, I will sometimes talk about Timothy Ferriss. Yes, he's the one who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week, which is a crazy book, which changed my life. And one of the things he says that always sticks in my mind that I like to share is that if you spend your time procrastinating or have this really long list of things that you have to do them or whatever, but you do all the procrastinating things to avoid that one thing that you should really be doing, then you're always going to be unproductive and you'll always be working more because you'll look back and say, what the hell did I do today? I worked for 8 hours, but I didn't get anything done. If you do that one thing that you have to do and do it early in the month, do it early in the day, then if you don't get anything done after that, then you're still getting further than you would and accomplishing more than you would if you stayed focused on these, piddly things that don't really matter as much. So figure out those key decisions and rally your energy behind that, and then you can spend the rest of the time in a lovely flow. Okay, so let's see what's next here. Along the lines of the Pisces energies, we also have the new moon on March 10th. So that's another chance for seed planting along the lines of all these things that we talked about. And this will give everyone in the Cancer spectrum can get kisses from this and can use it actively and consciously with great results. But those of you who are between 15 and 25 degrees, so July 5th through July 15th, the closer to around July 10th, then the more you have a direct impact from this new moon that it may be more noticeable. When I say impact, sometimes it's just the difference between coming to our consciousness. We always have things going on a subconscious level. Things are activating, but we become more aware of that process when we have a direct connection like this. Okay, so now let's talk about the eclipses. Okay, so we're going to layer in this eclipse discussion, and I'll try to make some of the basics brief. The eclipse we're working with now is an Aries-Libra eclipse cycle, started in 2023, goes to 2025, in the middle of 2025. It's working the Aries-Libra, magical portals here that have to do with me versus we, is what I call it, the me versus we polarity. Me, my autonomy, my physical body, my way of seeing and doing things, my physical flow, all of those things, my image, my identity, versus we, me and this other person, me and the boss, me and the, customers, me and the partner or the kids or the neighbor or whatever. The way that you are in relationship is this energetic too. So things have been getting shuffled around in these departments, big entrances of new people, big exits of people or ends of chapters have been the theme. Think back to 2014 to 2016, think back to 2004 to 2006, and think back to 1995 to 1997 when we had this before. I don't know about you, but I know for myself, I had a lot of storylines of autonomy versus codependence versus independence versus interdependence of those time frames. Moving out of the house, finishing college, making a big move, ending relationships, new, births, all of those things, deaths, rebirth, all of that, whatever it is. So if you think back to those time frames, you'll see this polarity that's been working with me versus we, and the shuffling around of energy. And that's, I always like to say that eclipse time is a time when the scientific principle that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it simply changes form, is really noticeable. You know, we see it happen a lot, that a grandparent passes away and a grandbaby is born at eclipse time. And it's like, oh, but that energy is, and then this comes in. Now, obviously, that doesn't always have to happen in order for the new energy to come in, but there is something that is this shuffling around of energy at this time. And, you know, so look out for it. Now, specifically for Cancer, this polarity is working your home and family and your work, employment, and your place out in the world polarity. It's your Cancer Capricorn storyline. Home, houses, real estate, housing, you know, your consciousness that comes from your childhood psychology, how your childhood imprints are affecting you now, your family of origin, your family you've created, people who feel like family, your roommates, all of that. And then the work, career, employment, passion projects, whether you get paid for them or not, things you're doing out in the world. Some people don't have a job, but everybody knows them and they're doing stuff in the world. This could be volunteering. You know, this is how people out in the world know you. What goes on when you leave your house, basically, you know, and you go out into the world, the things that you do and how that you are and the experiences that you have. For many people, most people have to work and earn money. So this very much relates to that. And this is also the mother-father polarity, the parenting, you know, polarity. And so notable things involving parents may come in here too. So that's where, so the eclipse, March 25th, is the 5-degree Libra eclipse. That's going to be in your 4th house. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama coming to your home and family. Could be that you make a sale of a house. Could be that you make a purchase of a house. Could be, you know, a family home is sold. Could be something like that. Could be something goes on with a relative. Could be you have a roommate move in. Things like that. Could also be you finish a project in your house that you've been wanting to do. You know, let's say, for instance, that you want to make your little cute garage that's on the side of your wonderful house a kitchen, so that you can record YouTube videos, for instance, to teach people about cooking. Let's say you want to do that. This energetic could help to make that possible. You know, something involving home and especially relating to work, right? So we're not going to talk too much about the Aries eclipse. We'll talk about that more in the April, you know, the April report, because the solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries will be on April 8th. But the influence, like I said, is from the end of 2023 to the end of 2025. So for 2 years, this cycle is going. So every 6 months, we have a heating up point where it becomes very conscious, the experience of the eclipse work. And then it kind of goes down into less conscious or not as dramatic. And then it builds up again. And so it does this for the cycle every 6 months over the 2 years that this is happening. So in 2023, spring for Northern Hemisphere folks, fall for everyone, the Southern Hemisphere. That's when it started. Then in the fall, we had another one, and then spring for you all, Dananda. And then we have it again, and then we'll have it again later this year. So basically January, 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes even 4 to 8 weeks before the actual eclipses, it starts to heat up. So if you imagine the pot is rumbling slightly for the whole 2 years, with bubbling with possibilities of manifestation. Then the 4 to 6, sometimes 8 weeks before the eclipse, the heat gets turned up and it starts to bubble more with more possibilities and more noticeable outcomes. So the heat got turned up in January. If you're watching this now, you're starting to see this already. Me versus we, home versus work, all of those things. Intuition versus logic, you know, strategy versus feeling. All of these things are coming up. And then it will just keep going higher and higher. The heat's bubble, 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 bubble. By March, it's bubbling all over the place and steaming everywhere, and it's like that in April, and then it starts to tone down. And then our nice little bell curve, and then we kind of go back into this calm until later in the year. And that's what the cycle will be. So you'll see these manifestations. If you want to understand the potentials better, I do if there are two places, I'm going to send you first to a place. I might not have this up yet, depending on when you get there. AnnieHelpsYou.com/eclipses. I'm going to try to embed my eclipse playlist on that page, and then have some notes about where each of the signs would be feeling it, so that you have a written version of this eventually, and then you can just watch the playlist from there and then know what you're watching. But if I don't get to that yet, go to Annie Botticelli on YouTube, go to my playlist, go to Eclipse playlist, and then watch the one for Libra, watch the one for Aries, watch the one for the 4th house or Cancer, and watch the one for the 10th house or Cap. And that will cover the Cancers. Okay, so I want to give you a couple more dates before we sign off here. One is a date to look out, or a series of dates to look out for. There's an eclipse, not an eclipse, there's an aspect on March 9th, Mars in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus. You'll be feeling that strongly at least 5 days in each direction. So March 4th through March 14th, closer to March 9th, and it may even be sooner than March 4th and after the 14th. This is pretty intense. More chaos, recklessness, people flying off the handle, injuries, things that come out of nowhere in a way that's not good, jostling, unwelcome things, aggression, things like that. So just be extra careful during this time. And then we have 3 great Venus aspects in the days around the 1st, and the days around the 21st or 24th, and the days around the 28th. If you really like the dates and how the aspects may manifest, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, put your email address in there. You'll sign up for my free VIP community, and you'll get my weekly astrology education newsletter, and that has content that I create to help you make the most of whatever's going on at this time, and to give you reminders of the different things that are important, and also you get special promos and access to things that people not in that don't get. So you can check that out there. Also at AnnieHelpsYou.com, you can see all of my other free offerings and all of my other offerings, period, including my astrology certification course. If you love how I teach and you want to learn, then whether you want to do it for professional purposes or whether you want to do it just for your own enrichment and to help your family and friends, my astrology certification course, it's an optional certification, so you don't have to go through and do that if you don't want to, but it's this stepwise, layered approach towards teaching. I teach astrology like it's a language. I'm a polyglot. I speak multiple languages, and I approach astrology as a language that you learn from the symbols up. And that's, so if you resonate with that approach, it's very comprehensive. And you can see that at AnnieHelpsYou.com. Just look for the education there. And it's also called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. You can see that there. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.